Business people across the world are constantly looking for new markets for their goods and services, and the prolonged global economic recession currently being experienced has made the need to seek additional partners more urgent. This is because some of their trading partners have dried up, and they recognize that for their own survival and growth, they must expand their client base. Our Barbadian entrepreneurs are no different, and it is no wonder then that several of them immediately seized the opportunity to be a part of government's recent 9-day diplomatic and commercial mission to Panama and Costa Rica. The mission was led by Minister of Tourism Richard Seeley and included Minister of Industry, Small Business and Rural Development Dennis Kelman, Barbados' Ambassador to the United States John Beale, who has responsibility for Panama and Costa Rica, senior officials in the Division of Trade in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, and representatives from the private and public sectors. From the start of the mission, the business people were quite excited about the prospects of doing business with the Central American countries, and indeed, that enthusiasm was heightened when they heard from those on the ground there about the available opportunities.
Panama is really a very open place to do business. You know, we invite everybody, just about in the world, that wants to do business in Panama and through Panama to other countries. You know, it's a very easy place to establish a formal working atmosphere. Our market of 3.4 million inhabitants is rather small, but through our logistical platform, you can reach 140 million people in the area. You know, which look at Panama as a place to come shopping and come and do their business.
Mr. White believes that the time is ripe for businesses in both countries to increase their exports and explore new ventures.
There's a market here for their products, and I think that there's a market for Barbados for products made out of Panama, especially since we do produce a lot of fruits and vegetables here that Barbados can import. Also, you know, there could be some intertrading in commerce and services. Actually, about 95% of Panama's economy is based on services. You know, not on industry and commerce. It's based on the services that Panama provides to other people, say banking, insurance, and all that.
Caribbean Label Crafts Limited, a Barbadian company which specializes in printing services, namely labels, is already in the Panama market, and its clients are extremely impressed with its high-quality work.
I think that from what I've seen, their quality is excellent. Aside from that, they do have like a different vision on marketing and how to market your products that are maybe different ideas from what we usually see down here.
I'm very happy. Very happy. High quality. A lot of attention. I mean, if I have a rush need, I get on the phone with Jules or his brother or anybody there, and I'm extremely pleased. Really, really.
Caribbean Label Crafts has been producing labels for Mr. Sosa for the past 12 years, and he shared his experience on how it all started.
One of their salesmen visited here, and he's a clever kid. He went to the supermarket, looked at the products there, found the company names, went in the phone book, and I got a call from him. And I'll tell you the story because it's just how business happens, okay? He calls me. I say, thank you. No, I've got my labels solved. And not a month later, my supplier of labels tells me he does not have the special paper we use for our labels. So, desperate. So I called. His name was Ricardo Cuthford, and he talked. He made me talk with his boss, and they said yes, 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 yes. And by golly, I haven't looked back. Very pleased.
According to Margarita Libby, who is Customs, Logistics and International Trade Executive Coach at Margarita Libby and Associates, it was not difficult to do business in Costa Rica.
The issue here is exactly that we are not aware about the treaty we have with Barbados and with the Caribbean region, and I believe it's the same situation probably in Barbados too. And what we need is to try to establish more communication between the two countries. But it's very easy to do business in here. We have a lot of products that we can share with you, to deal with you, and of course Barbados have a lot of industry that can be interested for that, and that we have a lot of commerce with Barbados now, but I believe we can increase that commerce. And of course a lot of services, technology services are now increasing the commerce or the trade with them. Costa Rica to Barbados are food specifically, and some plastics and pharmaceuticals, and the same comes from Barbados. But I believe what we can trade is much than that. One of the issues in here is maybe the freight cost is a little bit higher. We don't have routes from ship from here to there.
Our business people refuse to be daunted by any challenges. Instead, they are determined to turn every situation into an opportunity and penetrate those markets. One such company is McBride, one of the largest aerosol manufacturers in the Eastern Caribbean.
We came on this trade mission trying to break into Panama and Costa Rica. We'd worked trying to get into Panama before, and it had been tough. So being able to make the linkages that were provided by BIDC through the consulate, etc., those were very, very good for us. The response was good. We did not have many meetings in Panama, but the ones that we did have were very good. We, in Costa Rica as well, we had a much bigger response, and we do have some contacts that we are looking into that are very, very, very interested. So the response has been extremely good, and we are very grateful to have been a part of this mission.
And Ms. Grandison is hopeful that the company's products would soon be on the shelves of supermarkets in Panama and Costa Rica, as well as other Latin American countries.
The first step for our products is registration. We need to be registered with the Ministry of Health and Ministry of Agriculture in several places because we carry insecticides which are managed under our Pesticides Act. Therefore, our first step is to speak with lawyers to register the products. Some distributors can help us in those cases, especially here in Costa Rica. They used to have an aerosol line that they shut down, so they're able to register on our behalf. So that's very good. So our first step is to choose a lawyer and get the sanitary registration started. It will take much longer in Panama, but here in Costa Rica we've been assured that we can take anywhere from 1 to 3 months, which is very good. And from then we'll be able to choose a shipping line and get the products in.
Carlisle Laboratories Limited was in the Panamanian market a decade ago and is keen to re-enter it.
The last time we shipped to this market would have been about 10 years ago. At that particular point in time when we stopped, the local authorities introduced a new requirement for re-registration. While we were preparing the dossiers for that re-registration, our local distributor here in Panama made a decision to refocus, and pharmaceuticals wasn't their main interest at that time. Since then, we've been looking at the market. I've made a trip here before. I interviewed at least one distributor who showed some interest. But being a small entity, Carlisle Laboratories, very often it's difficult for big organizations like the ones here to put you at the top of their list. When BIDC made this decision to do the mission, we thought this would be a good time to come and maybe see more distributors and get an opportunity.
So this trade mission came at the right time for the company, and Mr. Scanterbury pointed out that he had several meetings with attorneys at law and government regulators, among others.
The response has been positive. I was able to meet with at least 3 companies at different levels, large, small, medium, and the next step now is to do the follow-up, have the lawyers look at an agreement with at least one of them. There again, because of the increased capacity, we see this as a merger market for us. There's a lot of manufacturing going on here in Costa Rica for pharmaceuticals, but I think there's still opportunity for us to do the trade in the other direction, where we can export into Panama, into Costa Rica. Yeah.
Also on the trip was Roxana Moseley, Managing Director of La Rosa Couture Inc., a company which was started in August 2010 and specializes in garment design and manufacturing, including high-end pieces.
Our purpose is basically to link with fabric mills, suppliers of fabric, because sometimes the quality of the fabric that we get in Barbados is not always what a designer wants. So, and sometimes the prices as well. So we're hoping to find not only fabric mills, but persons who do notions like zips, threads, buttons, and also machinery. Because right now my factory, I have some machinery, but there are special pieces like elasticator machines and the machines that put on buttons on like men's shirts that I really need right now. Panama was a bit slow meeting persons, but we went to the free trade zone and we made links with 2 fabric mills there, and they have a good quantity of fabrics. They have like satins, they have linens, they have knits, so that was good. Costa Rica, I met with more persons, like persons who own boutiques and stuff, who really want to bring Caribbean fashion to Costa Rica.
One of the businesses that was in high demand and always had a stream of people at its workstation in Costa Rica seeking to find out how ties could be forged was SOLARIS Global Energy Limited, a company that succeeded Aquasol Components Limited, which had been in the Barbados market for about 30 years.
Although we were hesitant about the trade mission because of the low cost of energy in Panama and Costa Rica, we still thought that if there were possibilities of joint ventures, that solar energy could be promoted successfully in Panama. What we found is that the reception in Panama, as far as solar energy is concerned, was lukewarm. But in Costa Rica, where we have a much more environmentally conscious population, we find that there's enthusiasm for solar energy in spite of the fact that the electricity cost is not extremely high as in Barbados. Our schedule in Costa Rica is jam-packed. We do not know if we have sufficient time to visit all of the clients who have shown an interest in this renewable energy.
The board of directors of SOLARIS is now examining the way forward. Mr. McClean, like all of his colleagues on the trip, praised the organizers, shared his views on trade missions, and had some advice for local companies.
Trade missions like this have a place in developing our industrial capacity in Barbados. If you select certain key industries, and industries that have grown to the stage where they are internationally accredited, then I believe that you have the beginnings of what would be good trading links in other countries. For instance, in Panama and Costa Rica, we have been asked several times, we've been asked, what are your international certifications? So in order for linkages to be made, I think you have to be internationally certified. So all of the companies from Barbados that come here, they should make sure that their products are internationally accredited, or that their companies are ISO certified.
Everyone loves tasty meals, and international chefs, as well as those who prepare meals at home, would tell you that the right seasonings add flavor to your food. It is not surprising, then, that Exotica Condiments Inc., a small export company, was very popular. On the mission, the company also represented Windmill Industries Limited, Star Trading, and Delish.
Our purpose in coming to the mission is because we're about to expand. We're looking to expand. We think that we're covering the New York tri-state area and Anguilla effectively, so now we want to broaden our horizons and take our product to this part of the world. So that's why we're here. And it's easy to do this because the BADC plan with having Barbadians all together is easier than to come on your own. It's more cost efficient and it could be as more focused as they've made arrangements for us. I would say there are great prospects in the Panama market. That's the market that we could penetrate easily. The only drawback is that our products has to be tested, and Barbados has to get the requisite lab to provide the test, otherwise market entry will not be achieved. This market also has some prospects, but you will have to work much harder in this market to penetrate it. But given the diaspora in Panama and how they respond to the products, I know that we could get into that market much easier than this market.
The products were not only high-demand items for the Barbadian descendants in Panama, who just could not get enough, as was evident at the diaspora meeting, but they also attracted interest from among supermarket managers and even chefs.
For instance, there's one gentleman who has a restaurant. He's a chef, and he wanted to buy all of my products. I gave him samples of seasoning and pepper sauce. So last week, Friday and Saturday, he used those products exclusively. And he called me Sunday at the hotel and told me that the response was overwhelming. And he wants to get products too. He doesn't want to be imported, but he wants to know when I start importing these products, exporting these products, the importer, who would be the importer that he could purchase from them. So it was a very great experience. I think we need to build on the opportunities that exist.
Those sentiments about the Barbadian descendants' great desire for local products were shared by the Executive Director of the Barbados Manufacturers Association, Bobby McKay.
In Panama, it was interesting to see the Barbadian diaspora, some of whom were second or third generation Barbadian who had never seen Barbados, but they have this warm affinity for Barbados, and they were really hungry for Barbadian products. They wanted anything with Barbados on it. I mean, some didn't know what Shirley biscuits were, and they were grabbing them. They were just happy for something Barbadian. And that was really, really heartwarming for me to see how hungry they are for our products. And we gave them lots of samples, and I'm sure that that market will work well for us.
Mrs. McKay pointed out that tremendous interest was generated and a number of persons were keen to do business with Barbados.
In Costa Rica, it was, we had 2 days of back-to-back meetings. There was a lot of interest, not only in the products that we had on the mission or the companies that we were representing, but they wanted to know, what else do you have? They were just interested in knowing all of the products so that they could see what would suit them. We also, on this leg of the mission, found a lot of requests for the food service sizes for hotels. Many people here wanted the larger sizes, whether it was seasonings, whether it was, 5-gallon oils, whatever. Those were the products that they were looking for hotels. And the other thing we were asked a lot for, do you have any bakery supplies? So, yeah, this leg of the mission had a lot of different requests, many of which we can fill or we can pass on the information, because I've started sending information back to Barbados already, and others which we can look at to see what we can do for the future.
The Barbados Agricultural Development and Marketing Corporation, a key agency in Barbados' quest to expand its foreign trade, was also on hand to find out what was available in those Central American countries and to support the agriculture sector here. And it appears that important links have been formed, which must be nurtured if they are to reap the required benefits.
We were able to engage not only the private sector. I was able to meet with public sector enterprise, specifically the Center for Food Science and Technology Research, CETA. They're stand ready to provide technical support to the BDMC in the area of food science and technological research. In fact, the BDMC is currently in the process of assisting in the conceptualization, development, and then implementation of the Cassava's Food and Feed project. Currently, we are well on our way in terms of the production of cassava flour, and soon we'll be providing samples to the baking industry, to run trials to see how it works. CETA, in association with the University of Costa Rica, is currently doing some research on alternative flours, gluten-free flours, and they've made a commitment on request that we could tap into that research because it's going to be useful for us. In fact, so convinced am I of the opportunities that exist with a relationship between BADMC and CETA that I'm going to be requesting to my board almost immediately, that we could sit down and maybe look at developing a kind of an MOU.
While visiting a farm, Mr. Skeet was exposed to an innovation which he is eager to replicate here.
I mean, just in visiting the farmers' fields today, we saw a piece of low-tech technology used to dry onions, which seems to be effective almost immediately as when I get back to Barbados. I'm going to be seeking to have some trials set up, if not managed by the BADMC, will ask for the Ministry of Agriculture's assistance in this regard. Low technology, modular technology used on the farm by farmers.
Executive Director of the Barbados Chamber of Commerce and Industry, Lisa Gale, is of the view that the goal of penetrating the Costa Rican market in a substantial way is achievable.
Even the research that we would have done before we left to come to Costa Rica, it revealed a good set of information, but coming to the market and seeing Costa Rica extremely developed, number one in a number of things, having such a large services industry, but yet a very buoyant industry segment. I was very impressed indeed, and they are looking not only to export goods to Barbados, but they're looking to see how we can invest in Costa Rica, and they are willing, they said, to have some imports from Barbados to Costa Rica. Indeed, that would be competitive because there are a number of products that Costa Rica would export to a number of countries. Their number one market is the USA, North America generally, because they also export to Canada. They export their second segment is to Asia. But this 7% is really what they export to the Caribbean and what they import from the Caribbean. And I think we, as a Barbados, we should be looking to see how we can, expand that in some way.
But she underscored the need for Barbadians to become proficient in Spanish in order to tap into these attractive markets.
I think if we really want to penetrate the Costa Rican market as a Barbados, we have to do a lot of legwork, talking to our youth, letting them see the value in being able to speak another language, to talk themselves through something, to negotiate the trade that we would like to see in terms of getting into these other markets. And it's not only Costa Rica. We are sitting right next to the South Americans. We're sitting right next to the Caribbean Sea. We're sitting right next to a whole set of people. And it is the Chileans, the Costa Ricans, all of those persons within the Central and South America. We should be trying to build relationships with Latin America in a big way. The Caribbean doesn't have any real penetration in those markets. And I think, as we have noticed emanating from this recession, we have to look elsewhere. We cannot only depend on the North America. We cannot only depend on the EU. We have to look where the markets are. And my exposure here to Costa Rica has shown me a whole significant amount of level of reality in Central America.
The mission also included representatives of the various chambers of commerce in the Organization of Eastern Caribbean States and the OECS Export Development Unit. Trade Coordinator and National Authorizing Officer for the European Development Fund Program in Antigua and Barbuda, Ambassador Dr. Clarence Henry, praised the initiative, saying synergies had been created.
It is a welcome venture because at the end of the day, Latin America offers a unique opportunity for companies that are seeking new markets and also to have joint venture arrangements between companies in this part of the world and, of course, the CARICOM. We need, as I explained to P.S. Gibbs, there is need for clearly more of this type of mission, the model, as we go forward in further operationalization of the CARICOM single market and economy. Jamaica, Trinidad are usually going on trade missions, but this is the first time that another MDC territory has involved the smaller territories of the OECS into staging a mission into into a new market area.
Although the mission was exploratory for the chamber representatives, they benefited significantly from it. They agreed that there were areas which they could build on.
So we had a few meetings the whole Panama experience was interesting in terms of realizing the level of development that is taking place in Panama. This whole trip has been an eye-opener, I think, for us in the Caribbean, in terms of seeing how much really is happening in Latin America. And there is much that I think that we can take from it. Well, they are obviously working together a lot more than we are. I think that this particular trip, which is where the OECS and Barbados are linked, where we are working together, I think we are a good symbol of what could take place in the Caribbean if we only had both the political will and for us to work together.
Well, certainly for Panama, my impressions were that there is a bigger Barbados population within Panama, and therefore the whole business from the Barbadian standpoint is an excellent, is an excellent source, and therefore I thought that we could probably use that model for our sub-region to probably not necessarily go into Panama or even Costa Rica, but just to use the model that we can replicate in some other island. Like Antigua has a strong Antigua population within St. Thomas, USPI, and some of the other Virgin Islands. Then there's the Guadeloupe and Martinique, where Dominica and certainly St. Lucia, they have that contact, so that it can be replicated somewhere else and perhaps just use the model.
So, what is the next step for Barbados and the OECS?
I intend to follow up. I intend to also, within the confines of the OECS Secretariat, encourage the Secretariat to immediately undertake the follow-up exercise, so that not only the producers, the persons who are here representing the chambers of commerce, but the other members of those chambers have the information and can themselves have a similar visit as is the members of the Barbados Investment Authority manufacturers. Let the OECS manufacturers also come, see, make contact, and ultimately benefit for the greater good of the OECS. We need to inform and also to encourage similar type of engagements throughout the other member states in this area, also in Europe, because we have the EPA just signed in 2008, the EPA. We can build on that. We can also engage in other jurisdictions, so that this particular venture, the venture of this trade mission between Barbados and the OECS, can redound to the overall benefit of the entire region. It establishes a framework that ought to be followed by other MDC territories like Trinidad and Jamaica. But above all, these types of exercise should be undertaken under the rubric of a One Caribbean model.
The diplomatic and commercial mission to Panama and Costa Rica has realized its original goals, and the business people, with the help of government in some cases, must turn that tremendous interest in our products and services into opportunities, since, in the words of Minister of Foreign Affairs and Foreign Trade, Senator Vincent McClean, Barbados is fully open and ready for business. Business people across the world are constantly looking for new markets for their goods and services, and the prolonged global economic recession currently being experienced has made the need to seek additional partners more urgent. This is because some of their trading partners have dried up, and they recognize that for their own survival and growth, they must expand their client base.